everyone, and welcome back to Womansplain. Today we have a very special guest, Dr. Mia Wiston. I think maybe our first doctor. Doctor in psychology, amazing, and also an amazing food blogger. We're going to just dive into her story. So I'm going to pass it off to her. She'll do a little intro and go from there.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'm Mia, and I guess technically I'm a founder of two different companies at this point.
Okay.
So I have my own private practice in psychology.
Incredible. Congratulations.
Mia Wiston Psychology. Thank you. And then I have a social media account, DishingDaily, with both Instagram and TikTok presence. So yeah.
Great. Well, this is super exciting because I've known you for years now, and we met through like our food blogging. And you were Lower East Side then for a long time.
Oh my gosh, yes. Now, okay, I know
She's
that.
very big on social.
Yeah, I know what Lower East Side is. Yes.
So walk us through, I guess, the name change, the brand change, why you wanted to, make that switch.
Yeah, so I kind of grappled with it for a while because when I started, I was living on the Lower East Side, which I still am, and I didn't think that this was going to go anywhere. It was just kind of a passion project, and my mom came up with Lower East Side. It was such a cute play on words, and I was like, this is great. And then I really grew a lot more than I anticipated over the last now 6 years, and I outgrew the name. I can't tell you how many times people would say, "Oh, where do you live?" And I said Lower East Side. They're like, "Oh, right." With the it was just like it was getting like a little tiresome to like be so tied to the Lower East Side, especially because I eat everywhere. I eat in all the boroughs, all the different neighborhoods, and I spoke to somebody else who's in the space, and I just kind of said it one day, like, "Oh, I might change my name." And she was like, "I think it's such a good idea. I also think it's great for brands and expanding kind of like your restaurant presence." So I bit the bullet January 1st this year and shifted to DishingDaily, and I think it's the best decision I've made, honestly.
Yeah, and I think it's great because like now it's more like lifestyle content too. People get to know you as not just Lower East Side, but also a doctor and having your own practice. So I think that's like a good change in branding for sure.
Yeah, which I ideally would love to be more lifestyle, a little bit broader than just food. It's definitely hard, I'm sure you know too, to kind of like expand in this space, but I do feel like it captures more of what I am trying to do and what I've already been doing.
Yeah. And DishingDaily means a million things. So I love the innuendo of obviously like gossip, whatever. It's great talking about yourself. And it can be cooking, doesn't necessarily be out.
Exactly.
So
I'm glad that you picked up on that.
Amazing.
That was kind of the goal. Is that it was like a
how
catch-all.
did you pick your new name?
Oh my gosh. I liked Dish because I also feel like for psychology, like there's a piece of that too. And I went through so many names. I have to be honest, I wasn't obsessed with it when I like landed there, and I was like on ChatGPT, which I never use. I'm like, I just need something to like come to me. And eventually I was like, I know I want to do this January 1st. This is what I have, and like this is what I'm sticking with. And it's definitely grown on me over the last couple of months, but it's not as catchy as Lower East Side, but I'm acclimating to it.
Oh, I think it's so cute. It also feels a little older.
Yeah.
Which I feel like you've probably grown up and you feel like, Lower East Side feels very young. Very
It's a little punny and
I love that. Amazing. And so you also have a private practice. So tell us about how you became a psychologist and how you sort of were inspired to do that. Maybe start in college. I don't know, something you always wanted to do.
Yeah, so actually when I was growing up, my best friend's mom was a psychologist. She was kind of like the town psychologist in our town in Westchester.
Damn.
Everybody knew her, and I was always so inspired by her. She'd come home after a very long day. It'd be like 9 o'clock, and she just loved talking about her day, her patients in a professional way. And I was like, this is what I want to do. So I pretty much knew when I got to college. I went to Franklin and Marshall, small liberal arts school.
Yeah.
And I took all the classes, and then I went immediately into grad school. And I went to LaSalle in Philly, got my PsyD, and kind of the rest is history. I always was like volunteering at psychiatric hospitals and just kind of knew that this was my calling, I guess. And then I worked for somebody when I graduated for a couple of years, and then started my own thing in 2022 now.
Wow,
that's
been a while
amazing.
now.
You're super young to have your own practice as well.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, really exciting. So how long did it take you to get your doctorate? What was the training?
So it's 4 years of school / intern or externships, and then the last year is a full-time internship. So I was at Rutgers for a year working at their counseling center, and then you have to do some postdoc training too so that you can get your license. So it's a long road.
So you're like a resident. It's like almost as long as med school, it feels like.
And similarly, I mean, obviously it's not as high stakes, but you match for that last year for internship. So you technically could be anywhere for that just 1 year, but it does have that kind of parallel to med school as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy.
stressful.
Yeah.
And I know you started your account, you said it's been 6 years
Yeah.
now. So I guess during COVID you started.
Right before,
Okay.
Okay.
I moved back after Rutgers to the city,
Okay.
and I had 2 patients at like with my boss. She was like really starting me slow,
Okay.
and I was like, I'm bored. I like need something to do. And I'd always toyed with the idea of starting an account, especially when I was in Philly. There's such good food there.
such
Yeah,
good
Philly has a
food.
great food
The most
scene.
underrated food
So
scene.
Underrated
underrated.
food
Yeah.
scene. Yeah.
But I just never got around to it. So I had like a backlog of photos I just taken for myself. And I was like, I'm just going to post one day. And I posted like 10 photos, and then it
On
up
Instagram, right?
on Instagram. TikTok came later. And I'm
Yep.
still like toying with
No, you're doing
TikTok.
great.
Thank you. And then COVID hit 6 months after I started. So
Wow.
yeah, it was. I wasn't very established by the time
Yeah.
COVID came around.
And then when you were posting, and it was the same for me, like I love food, so I just posted for myself to keep track basically of restaurants, and it grew. Was that kind of the same thing that happened to you?
Yeah, like you just do it because it's
For
fun,
fun, yeah.
and it's nice meeting people and getting to try new places and have an excuse to try new places, and then it really does grow kind of unexpectedly, I would say.
And then when did you see it kind of grow or go viral?
So I guess, well, I started taking it more seriously about a year in because I got a little competitive, and I saw other people with similar followings to me when we started getting bigger than me. And I was like, okay, no, like I need to take this more seriously. So then I started posting really consistently, like every day. And a couple of photos went viral, but I guess it was really with the introduction of Reels that things grew a lot more. I just had like a couple of different small food videos really get millions and millions of views, and that really changed the game for me.
And I feel like if you were a like blogger and like whatever influencer during the beginning of Reels, it really propelled you too. Because I think the algorithm at the beginning of Reels was like really pushing people to use them. Yes, which
You
was
ha-
like 2020. Right?
Yeah, it's like that sweet
It was
spot.
like that sweet, and then so I feel like it really like propelled a lot.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Yeah, how did you pivot during COVID? Because I'm saying you started before and it was probably going out, right? So yeah.
So I actually am not a baker or a cook, but I was out east for a few months and I was not doing a whole lot. So I would make Levain copycat cookie recipes. I mean, it's the most baking I've like ever done in my life. And I would post like those types of things because at that point, Instagram especially, a lot of it was reposts. So there was like accounts like New Fork City. I don't even know if that's like still in existence. But at the time, if you got reposted there, you would get hundreds of followers. So I would post a picture of the cookies I made. They like looked good enough, and that would get reposted. And those were the things that kind of kept me going during COVID because we weren't really eating out a lot, obviously.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And then how else were you kind of growing and getting, I guess, new followers? Was it I know you focused in Lower East Side first, but were you traveling to different boroughs for food? How were you kind of capturing different audiences?
I hit a point where I realized it was very fun to do these crawls where I'd pick a neighborhood and I would go on Belly and see what I had bookmarked and just make a day of it. And it's fun because it's like a great thing to do with friends. It gives people an excuse of a place to walk. You have a destination, you can explore. So I think that was also helpful for me because I would stockpile content. I would be taking photos of 5 different cookies, 2 different coffees, and just really get to check things off my list and get great stuff that I could post.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I know you're balancing obviously 2 companies, and I know we talked about this a lot. Do you think you'll ever, be a full-time, I don't want to say influencer, but like content creator?
As of now, no.
Yeah.
I love having it be more of a side hustle, and I do really enjoy, like I went to school for so long and I was really committed to becoming a psychologist, and that is equally, if not more rewarding in its own way. So I don't think so, but sometimes it's tempting.
No, I understand. I'm sure it's stressful. Do you have a specialty within sort of like the type of patient you tend to focus on?
So the place where I did my postdoc and worked after I graduated was an all women's adult practice.
Wow.
Yeah, which was
I love that. That's
fantastic.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was called Cognitive Therapy for Women. It has since
Wow.
ended. I think COVID just changed so much of the landscape for psychology as well. So I was really fortunate. My boss let me take my patients with me when I left and
incredible.
started my own practice.
Yeah.
And because of that, I see mostly adult women.
Okay.
And
That's
it's,
great. That's
yeah,
perfect.
it's my comfort too.
Yeah.
And I would say, I always tell people, it's kind of like seeing people like me, like people, have some anxiety, some mood stuff, worry about relationships and career. So that's, I would say, the bulk of my practice.
So not like severely mentally ill,
No.
vastly women and adult. Okay,
Yes,
that's great. Well, I mean,
exactly.
honestly, New York City, great place for it. A lot of professional, successful women going through a lot. I was doing crisis management too, right?
Yeah, I mean, crisis obviously looks different for everybody. But I feel so fortunate because I get to work with women who are doing really cool things in the city and just like in the world. And to be a part of their journey is so, so cool.
That's awesome. What was the biggest challenge of starting your own practice, and what was that transition like?
I am not good with like details and logistics.
Okay.
So there's a lot of paperwork that
Yeah.
goes with starting your own practice.
Totally.
There's like, you need to post in some journals to get the LLC. So that part really stressed me out, and the timing of it, because obviously if you don't have what you need established, then you don't have the right number to put on super bills to make sure that people can get reimbursed if they need to get reimbursed.
And your patients will leave, right? Especially in the
Exactly.
city. A lot of competition. Yeah.
So the timing and logistics of it were really, really stressful for me. I mean, I'm not a businesswoman, and I wasn't taught to, be a businesswoman.
No one teaches you that, which is also, I always feel like in med school or doctorate, they should teach you this.
It's really wild to me that they don't, especially because so many of the people that I know that I went to school with or just have met through the community now have their own practices. It should just be a part of the whole experience. But once that was established, by and large, what's nice is that you really just, you have the 45-minute session, you write up the note, and like you just have to be there and be present. And the business stuff, it kind of sorts itself out for the most part.
And then how were you able to kind of know what steps to take to actually make an LLC and start your own business? Was it like just a lot of Googling, or did you have other people in your network that were helping you?
Definitely some Google.
Yeah.
My dad, it's very different, but he had his own oral surgery practice
Okay.
before
But,
he
like,
retired,
yeah,
and
look.
he is super, super helpful and very knowledgeable. And then my boss, she did really try and give us some tools when I was there. So that was lucky. And that really just, it's paying it forward is so important in that way, because I'm sure she had people helping her, and she's established a lot of women's careers in that way.
That's amazing. I mean, it's incredible she was that supportive for you to spin off that early in your career. She trained you. Like, it's really rare. I think you see this a lot more with women, though.
It's really unheard of. I mean, a lot of people do this like non-competes and
non-solicits.
Yeah,
I mean, really common.
which is, I mean, so backwards for something like therapy, because it's not like changing, I mean,
Your
all of it's
hairdresser.
personal,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
it's so personal,
It
and
is.
it's establishing a relationship. It's not like clinically indicated to
Yeah.
then like, shift to somebody else.
Totally. And it like actually probably really hurts people's progress to have to be forced to shift. And it's so hard to find a therapist that works for you. I feel like this is obviously a huge problem with your industry. How have you like now transitioned to getting new clients, or like how do you kind of spend your time doing that?
Yeah, so that's been an interesting piece of the process for me. I am lucky that I have so many that have stayed with me from when I left. My main source of advertising has been my Instagram account.
Really?
Yes.
That is so
DishingDaily.
fascinating. Wait, tell us about this.
Yeah.
So it's funny because when I was working for somebody else, I was so nervous about having any part of my personal self on my Instagram account, because I don't know, like I'm representing her, not just me.
Yeah, totally.
So I didn't even like show my face really. And then I got more comfortable, and now I actually incorporate some therapy stuff mostly into my stories. I'll do Q&As, and I get a lot of people asking me for like advice and suggestions on just like their personal lives. So it kind of felt like a natural way to just like I have a lot of followers now. So I have like 147,000 eyes that could theoretically see my story advertising my practice and send it to other people and reach out. So that's really what I've been doing. Every once in a while, I just say I'm accepting new patients. I link to my website, and there's a lot of power in it. It's really interesting to see. And I think the most beautiful thing is I will have guys tell me that they heard about me because their guy friends saw it and knew that they were looking for a therapist, sent it to like their male friends, which I feel like
That's
is
amazing.
really
Men in
progress.
therapy,
Yeah.
that's rare.
Wow. Look at that. That's amazing.
I know.
Honestly. like, honestly, men have a lot of struggles too. They do,
Yeah.
especially with like being able to like talk about their emotions and deal with it. So I support that. But your practice is still mainly women, but it's not all women.
I've had men, I will say, they don't stick around as much always. But I would say I've had a handful now, like maybe 5 or 6 of my 30 plus.
I mean, that's a decent mix.
It's a nice
do you
chunk.
ever do couples?
No.
Okay.
Couples is daunting.
Okay.
And I don't feel like I'm well trained to do that.
Okay.
And it's tough because people are always looking for a good couples therapist, and it's hard to find.
Or like a woman comes in, she has relation problems, wants to bring in her boyfriend, husband, right?
Yeah, and I actually just had that recently with somebody asking if her and one of her family members could come in.
Whoa.
And it's interesting because if it's an isolated incident where they're having trouble communicating about something, it'll just take one session. I'm open to that. But you form a relationship with someone, you have your own biases, and it's not really fair to the couple or the family to be seeing them together, going in with some preconceived notions. So it's really important, I think, to keep it separate when you can.
So you mostly just refer them to a different.
Yeah.
And do you have your own therapist? I'm assuming yes, right?
Yeah, so I've been on and off for years. I've seen a therapist since I was a kid. I was always like an anxious kid. My parents like, gotta get this under control.
Everyone needs therapy.
Honestly, everyone needs to do this.
I think everyone could benefit from it. And
right?
I especially think people that don't think they could benefit from it would probably benefit from it.
Yeah.
I'm not currently seeing somebody. I went through a bad breakup a couple of years ago, and that was when I really was trying to find the right person. And I did find someone who at the time was like a great resource to just talk about things, but it gets tricky the more that you know and the more training you have to find someone that's going to tell you something different than what you could tell yourself. Not that I think I'm like the greatest therapist out there, but I could really give myself a pep talk and be hard on myself if I need to be. And so I'm like looking for something a little different, and I haven't yet found that with somebody else.
That is so fascinating. But I mean, it's hard to be objective about yourself too, right? So it's hard, maybe something you could like, but also maybe you know it deep down. You just have to kind of.
It's hard to listen to yourself.
You have to listen to yourself.
Yeah,
too.
I think I know it, but it's awareness is half the battle. It's like actually executing on the things.
For sure.
And how do you kind of balance between having like this, I guess, public life and with your patients too? I'm sure they think they know you and like really know you. So how do you kind of balance that in your sessions?
Yeah, so it's definitely interesting. I remember the first time, before I had advertised anything, a patient came to me and was like, oh, she had an agenda, and she was telling me all the lists, like the agenda list, and then she's like, and at the end, she's like, and I didn't realize that you have a food account. And I like turned bright red. I was so uncomfortable about it. And now when someone brings it to me, I just say, you know, I'm happy to talk about it if you want to talk about it, if you have thoughts around that. And people say, well, can I follow you? If you feel comfortable with it, it's totally up to you. I have a lot of patients that I have seen follow me, and we've never talked about it too. So it's been okay. I'm always, I think, balancing how much I'm posting of myself on social media, knowing that I might have patients following me, or I might have potential patients following me. I think that's where I struggle with it the most, or I'm the most mindful of it.
So do you limit just the personal information?
Well, I'm very much an open book.
Yeah.
And there's very few things that a patient could ask me that I wouldn't answer.
Okay.
I am definitely not one of those therapists that's like blank slate.
Yeah,
like
I don't tell you anything. Yeah. But that is like an old school kind of rule.
Totally.
Right?
And there's so many people that fall still into that camp. I personally wouldn't need a therapist that's like that. I kind of like knowing a little bit something about the person I'm working with. And so I don't limit it. I'd say I'm most mindful about, you know, when I'm like commentary about what's going on in the world or something. Like I wouldn't just post, you know, like no whole bars with that, because I don't know, I'm just like mindful of everybody's different and what their perspective.
Opinions. You don't want to, or maybe you haven't talked about it in therapy, but they have a strong political opinion.
Exactly.
And then you offend them.
Yeah.
Right. So totally.
I think that's the biggest part of the blank slate is like they don't need to know, because half the time I don't even know what I'm thinking about something. And my ideas aren't fully developed. So just being able to be a safe space for like whatever somebody's coming in with in that way.
Yeah, totally. And they might want to talk about it in the future or have like difficult experience and as far as it no, for sure, that is tricky though. But at least it's food, so I feel like it's a pretty neutral topic.
I mean these days like nothing feels neutral, but yes, definitely.
That's amazing. And so even though your practice is mostly women, but you do have some men. How do you kind of see that growing? Also, are you a solo owner?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, I have people asking me all the time, would you hire people? And it's not a step that I feel that comfortable taking. I, interestingly, am very risk averse. So starting my own practice for me was like a huge risk and something that I never would have expected that I would do. Granted, I think that there's a lot of value in having people work for you and you can expand. But for me, I think right now, if anything, I should figure out different means of getting new people in the door, the virtual door, versus trying to expand who's working for me and the types of things that I'm working on.
You also are young in your career. You're still
Yeah.
learning, so you probably want to get to a point maybe where you feel more experienced, you can pass it on. That makes more sense
Yeah.
too. What is, like, also therapy is obviously tricky because you're not in the room necessarily. You don't necessarily know how they're serving patients and you're not at capacity. So I get that.
Yeah, and it's a risk on both ends because a lot of times they're under your license, but
Yeah.
also you are then saying that you can like provide them with people to see, and I'm not at a
Okay.
point where like I could see more people individually. Like I don't really feel comfortable saying that I could find people to have others see right now.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And you say you have around 30 patients now, right?
Yes.
Okay. But you're setting your own schedule, so you're able to kind of do the food thing and also see patients.
That part's really nice. And I don't see all 30 every week. So
Yeah,
some
of
are
course.
biweekly, some are kind of drop in. So I would say I see about like 15 a week pretty consistently.
And you kind of just do whatever works for them, I'm assuming. Do you do like after hours a lot? And
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've tried to move it a bit. I do work until like 9 o'clock one day because obviously a lot of people
work
are
late.
working.
Totally.
I will say virtual has been really helpful in that because if somebody's working from home on a Monday, they get a lunch break or they have a block in their calendar, and that part is like really nice. I think it gives people a lot more opportunity to see somebody for all of their appointments, really.
Yeah. What is your opinion on virtual therapy? I know that's been like a huge thing, definitely post-COVID, but I feel like there's ups and downs to it.
Yeah, I mean, I love it.
Okay.
I am a CBT, cognitive behavioral therapist. So it's a much more structured treatment. It is not somebody like lying down on a couch and like recalling their like innermost childhood memories. So I think it works really well. I think for a lot of people, it's totally fine. I think probably for more people than even realize. I think we all still have a bit of stigma around virtual therapy, and we all would think like, oh, it'd be easier to go in person. But I think it's a great way of reducing barriers for people getting access to treatment. And you can pretty much do most of the same things for what I'm doing virtual as in person.
Yeah.
Can you explain CBT?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I always tell people my spiel is exactly how it sounds. So we really focus on our cognitions, our thoughts, and then our behaviors. And the core kind of like tenet of CBT is this belief that the way we think about things impacts how we feel and what we do. So a lot of the work focuses on shifting maladaptive thought patterns so that we can have more helpful and accurate ways of looking at things, and then hopefully feel better and act in ways that are maybe more consistent with our values or more true to ourselves. So that's like a big part of it. And I would say what is appealing to a lot of people is that it is more goal-oriented and it is more structured. So we set agendas at the beginning of session and we really have goals that we're working towards and we're checking in about. So it's definitely good for those people who are a little like type A or very organized. Like usually when I say that, it just resonates with someone. They're like, okay, yes, this is exactly what I'm looking for.
Okay. That, I mean, that makes sense. And I don't know, women in New York.
Yeah, women
I
in
feel like
New
that
York.
seems like it would, like, people would relate to that very well. Also, I mean, I think like the negative stigma about therapy is people are like, well, how do I know it's gonna work? How do I like implement it into my life, right? And it's mostly about breaking patterns. So that makes sense. Do you ever have patients that like are very anti-therapy but come because maybe they've been encouraged to? And how do you kind of convince them that they should be there, I guess?
Yeah, I have some people who definitely have internalized some of the messaging about therapy that I think maybe like just the generation before us really kind of still holds a bit. And it's being really patient with the process. It's being able to take our time with it and not push too much, really be able to meet someone where they're at and read the room. I would say I see even more than resistance to talk therapy is resistance to medication, which I can't prescribe, but sometimes I really think it would be beneficial for somebody to just at least consult with a psychiatrist. That's tough. People really have a lot of thoughts about that and a lot of negative thoughts about that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see that. Yeah. And because you are a psychologist, you know so much about our human brain. How do you kind of integrate these things into your food blog and like make it, you know, entertaining or attractive?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. Definitely the most, I'd say, tangible way is now doing these Q&As and offering people this opportunity, especially for people that aren't in therapy. I do think it gives them this like little window into what it would be like. One of my friends once said, it's like you're giving free therapy. So that part is a really nice way, I think, of just showing what I do, how I think about things, how I would approach therapy. And I have people that come to me and say, I love the way you answer those questions. It's why I'm reaching out. But I also think that I really have learned how to like form connection with all sorts of people, and that is really lovely in this space because there's a lot of different types of people out there. There's different people like in the restaurant industry, other creators, and it's nice to be able to form community by like having more connection. I think I show enough of myself that people feel like they know me or want to get to know me, and so it's been a nice way to just expand my own community.
And I guess on the flip side, do you incorporate like food or, you know, the lessons that you've learned being a creator in your therapy sessions?
So yes, in a bunch of different ways. I have a couple of people trying to do their own, whether it be side hustles or start their own things. And I'm always happy to just share insights, not even saying that it's my own personal experience, but just kind of like offering feedback, you know, based on what I've learned without saying it's what I've learned. But also food is a really nice, what we were saying earlier, neutral way of just having like a little chit chat at the beginning or end of session. So I've connected with so many of my patients about restaurants that they like or are trying. That and books are like my two things that we're always chatting about.
And I know the New York like food influencer scene is pretty small. How have you kind of found that community? Have they been supportive?
Yeah. So I mean, belly obviously is one way.
Oh yes, are you
all I
also
met.
like a top
Yeah,
belly
I mean,
person?
she is.
At one point I was number 2.
Oh my gosh, I
Now
know.
I'm 43.
I still feel
Top
like like
50.
Soul's a celebrity. Soul is a celebrity.
She is a celeb.
Like literally.
Oh, when we went out the first time, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so
No,
cool.
I was literally like
Belly
Lower East
celebrity.
Side.
Yeah, like literally.
Yeah. So belly actually has been a way that, I mean, there's some really amazing belly users, like very strong, like successful
that's how we
women.
met.
Yeah. And then it's such a weird thing because you're taking this chance, like you really don't know people. So just DMing or meeting at events is the way that you really meet people. And then you kind of realize like, oh, this person, like we really vibed. The other big thing for me is I have this great flexible schedule. So working with or hanging out with other content creators that are doing it full time, it's nice to have weekdays where we can just like explore or go film something. So that's been a way that I've also connected with people.
Yeah, I know. What is that like? I guess you kind of have your full own schedule. I don't know if you have an office. Maybe you do everything virtual.
Yeah, it's all from my apartment. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have anyone come? Do people come to your apartment?
Nope, all virtual. So
Wow,
yeah,
that
just
is
on my
fascinating. That's
computer all
actually great
day.
too, because you could leave New York if you wanted to.
Yeah, so if I want
Yeah.
to travel, I mean, pros and cons because I think also it's hard to unplug when you are able to be remote. But it's super easy. I have my sessions, and when my sessions are done, like close the computer, and then I can go out and like do the food stuff.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Does that feel? That must get lonely though too, because you're kind of a solo founder for both, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's more support for the food world because a lot of people are doing it, and a lot of people are very gracious about sharing their own experiences, you know, especially if you're working with brands and you don't know how to negotiate, like that's a whole other untapped market of like how to actually like figure out what you're worth and like what to say yes to. With psychology, it's definitely a little bit harder because I have friends who have their own practices, but we all do things differently.
Okay.
And so it's nice if like there's a real issue and like, I don't know how to handle this, but everything's so unique too, you know, like one person's issue is so different than somebody else's.
Yeah. And I know you're doing a lot with brands now as well. So what's been your favorite partnership? And like also how does that happen? Like do they reach out to you? How have you kind of established yourself to get sponsorships?
So mostly inbound. I'm not yet comfortable trying to like sell myself. With that, I would say the first time that I worked with like a delivery platform, I worked with Uber Eats a couple of years ago now, and that was just like so exciting. But I would say like it's more interesting to me getting to connect with restaurants. So like my favorite restaurant's Golden Diner. I just saw
amazing.
the
They
best.
just opened a sister restaurant.
They did, Golden Hoff. And I just saw Sam, who's the founder and chef, earlier today. And like now we have a relationship, and that's so nice, which that to me is very just rewarding too, of being able to see these restaurants that you love grow and being able to like be a part of that experience.
Yeah. And I know like we talked about it a lot like during COVID too, when there were so many small businesses, like often female owned or, you know, minority owned. And we went to a lot of them to support. And it's like really cool hearing their story because they're also a human at the end of the day and like doing all these cool things. And like you want to be able to like support the community.
Yeah. And it's like very powerful. Like, creators really do have a lot of power in being able to promote these small businesses, and people are so grateful for it. And it's just nice getting to see the person behind whatever they're creating. And it's been like really lovely getting to be a part of people's journeys with that.
Oh, and how? So obviously you get invited to a lot of restaurants. I'm assuming get like comp meals, etc. to review. Like, what if you hate it? What if it's like the worst restaurant you've ever been to?
We had one of
and
those
they
experiences,
like totally like rolled out the red carpet, and they're lovely people. How do you balance that?
So I will preface it by saying I hate very few places.
Yeah,
I feel like I
sure.
can find a dish at
Totally.
the very least.
Or
that
like vibes, whatever.
Vibes.
Drink.
Yeah, so that's to me what you kind of so first of all, there's one way of doing it where, especially with this kind of new medium I'm doing of like these carousel posts with some text, of just talking about a restaurant like more factually than my feelings around it. Also, I'm somebody who not only loves a vibe, like I love a playlist, or I met like one server who was just so nice, we really bonded.
Yeah.
So I figure out ways in that way. If something was really horrible, whether it be that they were mean or something that got us sick, you know, then
or the
I
service
think I
was, like,
would
just horrendous.
Yeah,
right?
then I
that
think
doesn't
I
happen that
would-
often, to be fair.
No,
Even,
no.
especially
It's once in a blue moon.
Especially in New York.
No, and you know, also everyone has a bad night. So
Yeah,
even
everyone has
with like bad
especially if it's early.
service,
Yeah.
but you know, maybe I'll post a story versus in feed, or I would set a boundary if I really felt uncomfortable promoting something. But so many of these people are just trying to like, you know, make their go of it, and survive. So I try and find ways to at least like put it on people's radar. If they look at the food, think it looks amazing, want to try it, like also my preferences and tastes might be different than someone else's.
That's true.
So,
It could be like a type of food you don't love.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That should be totally a thing.
Yeah.
And if when you do really, really love a place, like it's amazing. How do you kind of differentiate that one over one that's maybe like okay?
I feel like you'll know. Just because like your passion comes through. Also, I will say Belly, that is, I'm very, very honest. I write reviews about everything on Belly. So that's like another place I feel like to get good intel. And people, like I had someone, I posted something, they cross-referenced with my Belly, thought my review on Belly was lower than what I had said on social media, called me out on it. So people are, they've got eyes everywhere. Yeah.
Does your patients follow you on Belly?
I do have a couple that do.
That's so funny. I feel like I would personally totally stalk my therapist. I would stalk like all of her Belly. I would honestly probably pre-Google. I'd be like, what is like all like, does she like the restaurants I like? Because like she's probably cool.
So would you? It wouldn't deter you. Like if you Googled someone and saw they had an account.
It would make me feel closer to them.
I agree. I actually would personally like it. I was very anti-therapy a long time. Ended up going, was great for me during a period. Now I'm not, but did go for like a year. And it was great. It was a great decision. And my therapist was very open. I thought that was very important to me. In all honesty, when I was talking to people, I definitely tested people in that way. I can because I feel uncomfortable if someone's not open about them at all when I'm like spilling my entire life.
Yes, it's like an unnatural type of relationship.
For sure. And like I understand that they won't share certain things. I get that. But like if they were just really weird, if I asked a personal question, I was like, you're weird. Like I don't want to talk to you for an hour.
Yeah.
Like do you know what I'm saying? Like don't be
life?
socially fucking weird. Like honestly, like clearly you have no social skills. Like I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't be a psychologist. Like honestly, or at least like find a better way to detract.
I think we get these certain like anecdotes when we're in training and like suggestions for how to, like, for example, if you bought your therapist a gift because it was a holiday or they tell you you shouldn't accept it or you should basically analyze why they're doing it. Now, I would never do that because to me, that is like a weird thing to do. Like, it's not natural, it's not organic, it's gonna make somebody feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I think some of these things that we've been trained, they're more old school approaches,
For sure.
are actually off-putting. And for people that are anti-therapy, I think that's what they're scared of. They're not scared of just chatting with somebody who's open and interested and maybe you know a little bit about them. They're worried about having to lay down on the couch and have somebody just be like
judging
Yes.
you.
Judge you,
Yes.
And, or
Exactly.
someone that has never had any sort, like, I don't know, I think there's like these weird like opinions of like therapists or people who like have never had any like trauma in their life, they've never experienced anything, whatever, all these weird stigmas that have been like put into the world and in your head, or they're really traumatized and that's why they're therapists, right? And they're really weird or like whatever.
Yeah.
So I think it would humanize you, so I think that's a good thing.
It's nice
I
to
gave
know.
my therapist a thank you gift at the end when I was like graduating or whatever.
And so
That was-
I'm
that
so
was
touched
nice.
when people do
Yeah,
that.
I was like, thank you, like
Sweet,
goodbye
yeah.
or whatever.
It's
I
like
don't
a
know,
nice,
they seem fine with
yeah,
it. Like,
it's a
maybe
nice
they liked it.
gesture.
IDK.
Yeah.
Maybe they
No.
threw it out. I have no idea. But at least they pretended to like it.
No, I mean,
idea.
the few gifts I've received have been so meaningful to me. I hold on to them forever. Like, they're never going anywhere. So
Totally. That's awesome. Well, that's amazing. Okay, so where can we find you for both therapy and food?
So my practice is just called Mia Wiston Psychology. So
Okay,
you can
great.
Google that. I think it's drmiawiston.com is my
Lovely.
URL. And then I'm just dishing daily now on Instagram and TikTok.
That's amazing. And doing the Q&As. Tell me, what exactly are the Q&As?
It's just kind of like an Ask Me Anything.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it. And so
yeah.
people ask about psychology stuff and
Food, psychology, dating, the works.
Okay,
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, nothing that we don't
Love
touch
it.
really there.
that's
So
great.
yeah.
that's amazing.
And I know you probably get this question all the time because I get it all the time. Your favorite restaurant, which you said was Golden Diner.
Mm-hmm.
I guess second favorite.
Okay, so I would say my top 5.
Okay.
Golden Diner.
Okay.
I've rehearsed this, obviously. Said it a lot. Rosella.
Okay.
Ah, so good.
Servos.
I love Servos.
Love. Great vibes,
I've
too.
been there a
Such
long
good
time.
vibes.
Especially in the summer when you can sit out
Yeah.
on Canal.
Great, yeah.
Ruby Rosa.
Love Ruby Rosa.
And then Sugarfish. It's so
Oh,
basic
I love
of me.
I eat
but
sugarfish like 3 times a week takeout.
It's so
It's the best takeout.
It's
the
so
it is-
reliable.
It is,
Yes.
yes,
The
it is.
to-go light,
Yes.
whatever. It's
Yes,
like
the best. I literally
cheap
have that
and
3 times,
great.
like honestly
Yeah.
3 times a week.
I tried to go in the other day and eat there alone. It was an hour and a half wait.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
my.
only been walking
I know.
only.
Let's
But
go
it's
in
good.
Midtown. There's not that.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
the
good. That's a
Midtown
good hack.
is a lot better.
Okay, good to
Yeah,
know.
I will say. But yeah, the Soho one is crazy. You gotta go like on a Tuesday night or
You
something.
have to go Tuesday at like 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Or you just like know you're gonna wait and it's
Yeah,
fine.
have a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go vibe, it's fine.
Yeah,
I love that. Amazing. Okay, well we always end on this question, especially you have 2 kind of companies. What would you tell a young person who's looking to take the leap and start their own company?
Just do it. Rip the Band-Aid off. Utilize your resources and your supports. Be really consistent about, especially if you're going to do something more social media heavy. And like you learn as you go, you know, like it's a lot trial by fire and it's okay to mess up and need to ask people questions and like you figure it out.
Amazing. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Mia.
Thank you for having me.
Dishing Daily, Mia Wiston Psychology. And thank you so much for coming on. And everyone, thank you so much for listening. As always, find us at Womansplain Pod and all socials. And hello at womansplainpod.com if you have any questions. Thank you so much, Mia.
Thanks,
Mia.
guys.
Thanks.
Yay.